Hello and welcome to Creativity in Progress, the show where we get creative. All right. I am your host, as always, Ethan Murphy. And as always, I am joined by my lovely co host, Nathan Beatty Jr. III. How are you, Nathan?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good. I'm good. And as always, Nathan is joined by our even lovelier co host, Ariana Orner. Ari, how are you?
Good. Yeah, just
Mhm.
chilling.
Nice. All right. I love it. I love it. We last week we were not able to come. We were not able to be here. We apologize for that. So
Mhm.
hopefully you come back. We are tackling the same story we started 2 weeks ago. At this point, that story has no name, but we were kind of let's calling it the turtle versus the army type story, but whatever. Um, so just to do a quick recap, for everyone who either was here and forgot it or who wasn't here and didn't know what we're doing. The genre that we rolled for last time was adventure. The setting was in space. The time period was future. Archetype number one was hermit. Archetype number two was tyrant. And archetype number three was an orphan. All right. And so basically, the rundown of Act One was just that in this future time, there was a war, intergalactic war, and there were several casualties on both sides, and multiple races, or man and beast and everything else that were sentient, lost people, and uh, one general on one side uh, lost his son, and one child lost his parents to the war. And so now the story is set in, I guess, no, current present time. And in the current present time, the son has grown up to become a basically somewhat of a high-ranking official in the military, somewhat of a negotiator of sorts, but he's very duplicitous, and he goes to the planet of one of the old races that they were battling against during the war, and he tries to seemingly negotiate with a person that's is on part of the planet that they want that his military wants to go into, for resources or whatnot. And the hermit that's living there is the general that's now, having lost his son, he's pretty much just become a recluse, and he's dedicated his life to doing more or less nothing. And when this hotshot negotiator comes in there trying to convince him to leave, he doesn't want to, and it becomes evident pretty quickly that the two of them aren't going to see eye to eye, and more or less they do. The two of them alone declare war for supremacy of this planet, or at least for this patch of land. And so where we pick up in this story now is about, more or less, the battle lines have been drawn between our turtle general and our hotshot negotiator tyrant. Right.
All right.
Nice.
Okay, so that sends us into. All right, so where were we? We just finished up Act One. Is that right? Is basically where we were.
More or less, yeah, more or less.
More or less. Yeah.
And so I believe what we had said was the last thing we brought up was the idea of it being somewhat like Princess Mononoke was, I think, the last thing Ari said, um, in terms of how the planet or the forest or what have you would basically be living or working together with the turtle hermit, possibly to help him defend.
Yeah, there could be some like base version of him recruiting the planet itself
Right.
to help.
Mm-hmm.
Now I guess you want it to be more or less like sentient plant life or animals as opposed to other people, or do you want it to be other people?
I think maybe a mixture of both because obviously there has to be people there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I well, I mean that's not necessarily true because if he's a hermit, he could be living all alone
Mm-hmm.
on a planet that's rich with resources.
Right.
But maybe the species that lives there is more of an alien species. Like maybe it's kind of a this is a this is a very far out example, but maybe like a Solaris type situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Yes, that's how actually how I've seen it too.
Mhm.
I actually think it'd be more interesting if it was the whole idea of one versus many taken to a different extent. Because one higher quote unquote life form versus many as far as an army, and also gets into the idea of nature. I mean, it is like James Cameron's Avatar and Ferngully and everything else, nature versus man, but done in a more creative way. So it could
Mhm.
be fun if we actually have it that the general again he's dusting off his old uniform, and he's become a general, but this time his army is the planet itself versus this
Yeah,
hotshot tyrant negotiator with all his crazy Ender's Game tactics, so to speak.
and that would also kind of lend credence to the dictators, like, why are you trying to defend this place? There's nothing here, type of
Yeah,
situation.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
exactly, exactly, exactly. Right. So that seems to be most yeah. So I'm saying the turtle hermits recruiting the plant life and the wild animals, akin to Solaris. Mm-hmm. All right. And now I guess part of what we got to do is they're both sides of this war. So the negotiator, we never really, I guess we call him a tyrant, but he himself is not a general, right? He's too young probably to be a general. So is he also coercing in some level the people he works with on his side to kind of be that much more hostile towards the turtle hermit guy?
Uh, I mean, well, we really don't have to adhere to like age rules necessarily, because I mean, is he's a tyrant, so he's in charge
Oh,
of
he's in
some,
charge.
at least.
Okay.
Wasn't that the character type? He's a dictator, tyrant type
Mhm.
situation.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Let's do that then. Let's actually just have it that it's just general. It's general versus general. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, I like that.
Oh, yeah, that's more. It's more chess-like that way.
It's
Oh
exactly,
yeah, yeah, okay.
exactly. Go full Bobby Fischer with this. Okay. All right. And what would be fun too is, of course, it is Act Two. Even though it's not the '80s, all '80s movies need a good montage of sorts. So it could be the idea of seeing both sides getting together, they're recruiting their troops or building their armies, getting them ready for war, kind of thing. Actually, see kind of some of the tactics that we want to employ and things like that, for example. So seeing the tyrant is putting up wave after wave of of men and manpower and all his AT walkers down onto the planet, all these crazy over the top friend things. And as far as the turtle hermit, seeing him like the bizarrely interesting different types of plant life that he comes to, the ints, they're almost in some level, or the different types of like celestial looking creatures that are there, things that you wouldn't necessarily even imagine would be there. It's gonna be it'd be fun to just to see them come into life, come out and see how they
Yeah,
look.
absolutely. I mean, it's also very like machine versus nature,
Exactly. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
which
Yes.
I
So definitely double down on the idea of seeing the machines, all the expensive fancy machines that the tyrant has versus all this that the earthy, organic, hippie type of cool stuff that the turtle hermit has.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right. Mhm. So how do you want to start this war?
Um, we didn't start the fire. It was burning since the world was
So
turned.
Mhm.
there we go. That's it. We'll literally have a fire just burning, and that both of them pointing fingers at each other, and say, "I didn't do this. I didn't do it either."
So ultimately, that doesn't remind me. It inspires me because, like, what if a fire is set because nature?
Sure.
Oh yes,
Um,
yeah.
the general just like maybe he smokes and he deliberately uh, lets his lighter or cigarette drop, um,
Yeah.
and just
Ooh. Go
causes
on, but I have an idea. But go on.
destruction or at least I don't know, something like that.
So yes,
Try to weaken the other side first.
yes, I like the idea. I think the tyrant would draw blood first because ultimately our turtle hermit is defending his planet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what it is that when the tyrant was in the bungalow of our turtle hermit, he pretty much already planted something there. He either planted an explosive that he's going to set off. He put like a trail of gas that he could light from a distance, something so he could literally from a distance. He pretty much had already planned on attacking him. And when he's ready to go to war, the first thing he'll do is just destroy his house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unbeknownst to our turtle hermit, he doesn't know that whatever the weapon or whatnot is in his home, the bomb or is in his home, but that's how he can get the war started.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it could be. All right. Well, you take this with a grain of salt. You are free to be like, that's dumb. Maybe the hermit has like this innate connection with nature, so he can sense things that are more natural. And the reason why he doesn't sense the bomb is because it's completely mechanical.
Oh, okay, I like that.
That's okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. You're saying yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, or even like a very old school analog type of thing. That's so. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Right. Bomb. Below. Now, I guess the thing is too is that obviously our turtle has to survive this. So, um, what would be a kind of a fun escape for him? A fun way for him to escape being blown up, being blown up.
Um, hmm.
Well, he is a turtle. He could, turtle.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, he could
Yep.
just be a very. I think it would be interesting if he did get injured.
Yes.
And that's part of the reason why that drives him to go recruiting. But since his species is very tough, probably maybe the dictator wasn't expecting him to be so tough.
Yeah, I like everything you guys were saying. It almost seems like maybe you should take a step back as opposed to the second the tyrant leaves, the turtle's ready to go to war. It's more or less he's like being very stubborn, like like Mr. Fredrickson in Up. Like he's not ready to just completely just change his life. But then what sets him off is when when the tyrant tries to blow him up, and that's when he officially tries to build his army together, build his army up of plant life and creatures, that kind of stuff. That's what motivates him. Because also his house is gone now. He can't be.
Yeah, it would be very obvious to him that this person is not going to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. That's okay. So I'll change that. Yep. That's perfect. I like that idea. So that's what sets him off, and that's what actually motivates him to do some stuff. Okay. And then once that happens, then it's I think part of what it could be is returning kind of returning the sign in favor. So it'd be something that the turtle hermit could do just to show, because at this point, like you said, the tyrant might just think he's dead. He have no reason to believe he's still alive, and he's not even trying to prepare his army. He's just okay. The turtle's dead. We can take our time going over there.
Yeah.
It almost had to be something to kind of show him like, or it could be that we see the tyrant just marching with his troops casually into the forest, and all of a sudden they're ambushed, and they have no idea what's going on.
Oh yeah, that would make sense. I mean, if he thinks his only obstacle has been eliminated, there's really no need for subtlety, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
So I had this idea, but it's it's one of those things where it's a tiny idea, but the amount of framework around it is kind of big. So I'm going to throw it out there and see what y'all think.
Preach.
So obviously there's going to be a disparity between this tyrant and his mechanical, it's the classic advanced weaponry versus more basic types of weapons. And so it's like obviously there's going to want to be we're going to want to have a point in the movie story, whatever, where it looks like oh okay, yeah, machinery is gonna just pretty much gonna win again because that's what always happens, but then they come back. Well, what I'm thinking about with the coming back is maybe having there be like this other character I don't know if it's a character, but maybe I keep thinking of like a almost like a Mother Earth ish type character that this being that the hermit is connected to, and
Mhm.
the hermit is basically like kind of like, okay, I need your help because we're all gonna die now, and this being or whatever is like, no, I'm not, kind of like what he's doing, which is kind of a mirror of what his existence is. But when this being sees this invasion of the tyrant, realizes, oh, I'm about to be screwed if I don't help this guy, and then becomes a force of nature, because nature versus advanced weaponry, nature's going to win every time. So
Right.
I think maybe something like that. Like, I know what I came up with might be too complicated, but maybe something along those lines.
No, it makes sense. It's because
Yeah,
I guess I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ari. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I like it.
I like it too. It's kind of the idea of it being a space Gaia, basically.
Yeah.
Because it's almost too. If he just, I mean, it could work if he ran into the forest and said, "Hey, every squirrel, help me." Sure, but it's a little more impactful or interesting if he almost has to humble himself before the space Gaia to say, "I need your help with this," type of thing. And it could be also the backstory is that the planet, the life force of this planet, hates war a lot, and because the turtle hermit almost did something that the planet doesn't agree with, he's almost in a way shunned by this guy, whatever. And so he really is. He genuinely has to bow before her, be like, look, I messed up. But if you don't join me now, we'll lose everything. I know you hate war, but if you don't join me now, we'll lose everything.
Yeah.
Both of us have to step outside of ourselves in our comfort zones for for the safety of for the benefit of our own planet.
It could be also that she's like listening to this, and she's like, I'm millions of years old, and nothing can hurt me. Like, even machines I will take over in the end. Like, there will be there's nothing that I will not eventually win over. And then maybe our turtle hermit points out, no, that they're going to drain you of your resources, so you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it. And it could be, it could be something. I mean, if it was a longer film, it could have been something that's introduced as far as like she says no first, and he has to walk away. Then she sees that it's happening, and then they come back together. Or in this case, we can kind of bypass all that and just he can just show her basically that the stuff's being stolen from you already. They're already here stealing your stuff. So if you don't help me, then you won't be then you will not exist either. Kind of thing. So yeah, you can have it that there's actually there's still tension between the two of them, but ultimately they'll have to work together. We have a new buddy cop situation.
Buddy cop is a literal god.
Yes, that's all. That's my next script.
But Buddy Gaea.
Buddy Gaea. I'll copyright that, please.
I think we just did.
Yes.
Begging her for help.
And by the way, I'm picturing, you guys have seen like the 2000 Fantasia, right?
Oh yeah.
Not all the 2001. No, which
okay, well, there at the end there's the animation to Stravinsky's Firebird finale, and you basically have Mother Earth coming back and causing spring, and that's just what I'm imagining.
Yeah.
Ooh, I will watch it tonight on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It makes me emotional.
Nice. I love emotions.
I love it's not as impactful, but I love the Rhapsody in Blue on Fantasia 2000.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love the entire freaking thing because it's beautiful. But that's a great one.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Just every time I hear Rhapsody in Blue, I just see that animation roll in my head. It's just so good, so good.
Okay.
I think the visuals from the Fantasias, we can kind of think about those as far as like that being on the side of the turtle too, as far as like
yeah. Well, I mean,
nature.
there's no reason why this can't be an animated film.
Oh yeah.
I'd actually prefer it if you have a turtle and Gaea working together is probably better to have either Jim Henson or full blown animation, or Don Bluth.
Yeah, I was going to say Jim Henson and Muppets.
well, yeah. Yes.
We'd have Kermit. Kermit would play the part of the hermit.
Oh, right, yes. Let's make that. Okay, let's rewrite the script entirely from scratch. Okay. All right, so there's a slight detour here. I digress. After basically Gaea and the Space Gaea and the Turtle Hermit metaphorically shake hands of some kind, or figuratively shake hands, that's when you'd see them. I guess at this point you cut back to the military, and they're basically draining the resources, because at this point they still believe the turtle's dead. They're not preparing for war. They're just draining the resources, and that's when the planet could attack in some way, or the animals could do something in some manner. That could be the first. I guess that's the retaliation to the first blood that they drew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it would be interesting if it was like, see, okay, so maybe before Gaea doesn't listen really, and she's like, whatever, I'm going to survive no matter what. There's no reason to fight back. You're free to do whatever you want. That little man. And he does. He goes and gets help from the nature that will listen to him. And they mount an attack or something. And it goes poorly because, it would. And then, and we, the audience, would be like, this is really, this was a really, like, if this is all that he could muster, how could this possibly turn out well? You're going to get massacred. And maybe the attack was very impressive. I mean, maybe it wasn't so impressive, but I like the idea of once Gaea joins the fight, suddenly there are natural disasters happening.
Yeah.
And completely horrifying level, where you just literally you just can't fight against it. Though maybe they are able to because of the machinery that they have, but still, it's much more impressive, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
No, yes. Because what we're talking about also is you want to actually have the battles build. You don't want to have it just go right from 0 to 60 off the cuff. So it's got to be little bits, little inches here and there. A battle of inches. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. Where it starts off with they retaliate in some way. It's sloppy, but it's enough to get these few soldiers. It's just a few soldiers that are doing these resources to kind of get them to go away or what have you. And then the tyrant wants to come back and do more stuff. And pretty much it has to get to the point where, not full-blown Deus Ex Machina, but it has to get to the point where it seems that the Turtle Hermit and his meager forces, even though he has nature on some level, they just can't win. It's impossible. And then that's when, like you said, Gaea can say, all right, F it. I can literally throw a hurricane at them. I can do all kinds of stuff. And then once Gaea does get involved, that's when you see the full legion of the army, of the military. That's when it's full-blown, like, all right, we're at endgame, Cap with the broken shield, holding the hammer, saying, Avengers Assemble. That's when it gets to that point.
Right.
So that's the end of Act 2. It gets to that level.
I just love the mental image of this fleet, this not Death Star. What am I talking?
Death Star.
I can't. Where's my Star Wars vocabulary? The Star Destroyer. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
The fleet of Star Destroyers just turns up, and they're fucking massive. And there's no possible way to fight against them.
Yes.
And suddenly, this storm, the size of the Jupiter storm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say a few things that you guys. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nate. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I had the image in my head of this legions of essentially just ships and troops and troop movers and all this stuff coming, and you're just like, all right, I guess game over. We're done. Bye, guys. It's been fun. We're gonna die now. And then all of a sudden, tornado, and then tidal wave, and it's just seeing almost like it's like, oh, okay, now it's the day after tomorrow. Okay,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
Yes, I love it. I love
The
it.
spectacle would be amazing, and I want to see it now.
Yeah.
But I can't.
I had to. So here's how I was going to say that, and take it or leave it. I think that we should have like multiple fronts to this battle. So essentially, there will be like a land. There'll be a land army, which is like the animals and some of the plant life versus the foot soldiers and things like that. There'll be there'll be like kind of the AT-ATs or the larger machinery and like the larger plant life with the bigger trees and things like that, and kind of Gaia on the ground level fighting them. And then in the skies, you can have like the Star Destroyers and things of that nature, and Gaia literally throwing hurricanes and lightning storms. And then the actual personal battle will be essentially the generals versus each other in some way. I'm not saying go full Yoda in episode 2 versus Dooku, but something where the two of them, it can come down to the two of them having a battle.
Yeah, I really like the idea of Gaia. Well, I like the idea of Gaia sort of dispersing with like appearing as a humanoid or however we were showing her, and is just present as destruction, nature destruction.
Yeah.
She is like, her battle is off in the background, taking care of the other like massive inescapable destruction. And the personal, like you said, the personal fight at the core of it is between these two. And I think it would be very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want them to have like a sword fight or anything, or like
right. It seems like a place.
But and I don't know how. I don't know, but I do like the idea of them fighting.
Well, the other route you can go with is an objective. So it could be something that the turtle is like, well, they have this power source, which is where, because of this, either like a battery or whatnot that's kind of charging most of the machinery for their military. So his objective is to destroy that, basically. He goes there to do that, and the tyrant stays back to more or less prevent this from happening, or he finds out that this is going on. He sees the hermit kind of making his way there or something, and he goes there to deal with that. So there isn't really a battle necessarily with the two of them fighting, throwing fists. It could be like a kind of a clever little way that the turtle is trying his best to get to this battery. You could even have the tyrant almost like firing a handgun at him, and he's shell blocking the bullets or something in that nature. It's about the objective, trying to get to that thing in time. It could even be something as simple as a counting clock going off, as far as like there's one of the larger Star Destroyers which Gaia can't handle. You may even have a couple like a Death Star laser beam of some kind, and go
if it's in space, and out of her purview, then she can't really. Oh, and maybe the tyrant has like the self-destruct key code or something, something that will shut it off from where he is, so that they don't. I mean, they physically can't get up there into space. So it would have to be called in from the ground.
Right. Okay. Yes. That seems. Yeah, I actually like the idea of just going ahead and doubling down and actually having it that this weapon is in space. This weapon is a ticking clock trying to get ready to do something, and the tyrant holds the key to using it in some way. Yes, definitely that. It would be. I imagine, like Ori says, if this is a weapon that powerful, if he is the general, it's kind of like a nuclear arm, like a nuclear weapon key. They always keep it on their person, so he wouldn't necessarily have it. He would have it. You almost have to have the part of the mission of our hermit would be for him to get close enough to this tyrant and get the device off of him, and then stop it, push the button or whatnot on him, or something along those lines.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how. Yeah, I got nothing.
No, I'm just throwing it out there. It doesn't have to be that exact scenario. But that's if we're doubling down on the idea of war and whatnot. to make it sort of a ticking clock scenario, and that it's not that full blown hand to hand fight at the end with the turtle and the tyrant. That's a possibility.
I do like the ticking clock. I think probably it would be interesting to have like a cat and mouse type of chase situation where maybe the general is seeing how terrible things are turning out and he's about to retreat. Maybe his transport gets blown up and he has to find another way. But before he can, then our hermit shows up. And then the chase proceeds from there.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So I guess what if it was literally like an idea of like, well, the general sees the tyrant. He sees it that it's a no-win scenario basically. So he's like, "F this, I'm leaving," and he pretty much has like a bomb of some kind on the planet to destroy it, and he's ready to hightail out of there. And the hermit's mission is to get to the general so he can hit the button to stop it from blowing up or something like that. He doesn't have to beat him. He just has to get to him and hit the button on his person. That's it. He could even go out. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go. You go ahead.
He could even, because he is an older man. He could even go out, like a soldier, like a Maximus, and say, pretty much, he'd even die stopping it. He could push the button and then die in the process and whatnot. But it saves the planet.
Well, I had a vision of an idea of, so there's this it's probably a little cliche, but there's the cat and mouse of the hermit trying to stop the bomb, and there's the back and forth of that, and going through all of that, and then it seems like the hermit has failed, and the timer stopped, or the timer to maybe make it where there's like a delay between the time where they need to stop it and the actual explosion occurs. I don't know how we would do that, but and then have that happen. He thinks he failed. The general's like, ha ha ha, you suck. I'm going back to my space thing now. And then he gets on his thing and he's flying back up and he gets onto his thing, and then he gets out of his cruiser and the bomb is on the cruiser and
of course
the thing explodes.
That's the best idea. That was in what's it called? Casino Royale. Have you guys seen James Bond Casino Royale?
Yes.
There's a part where Daniel, you remember that? You know that part, Ari? I'm talking about.
No, yeah, but Nate, have you?
I haven't seen it, but I've watched enough James Bonds to.
No, it's James Bond. It's the kind of idea, but he does something similar to that where he's trying to stop a bomber from going up a plane in the airport. Topical. And I guess, and he's able to switch to take the bomb off its location, put it on the bomber. And so when James Bond is being detained because he looks like he's a crazy person, the bomber hits the button to set it off, and he starts hearing a bomb on his own person. He's like, "What's going on here?" And he realizes that James Bond put the bomb on his belt and it blows him up. And then James just kind of smiles slyly as he realizes he won. Something like that might work too. It would have to be something small enough or simple enough, a way that the turtle would be able, because also the turtle is obviously going to be somewhat slower than the general too. We have to factor that in too. So it would have to be somewhat clever.
Well, I thought of a thing, because one of the things I was thinking about was we were talking about like a Death Star thing, but I don't think it should be a laser. I think maybe we should have it be like a bomb or something like that. But have it be the bomb is on the spaceship, and the general has the homing beacon. Basically, the wherever that beacon is, that bomb's gonna head towards, or missile. I guess it would be a missile in this case. And he needs to plant it in a certain place so it gets maximum effect and completely destroys this planet. And that's part of the cat and mouse game. The hermit's trying to get to him to get it, to break the beacon so that way the bomb won't work. And he thinks he's failed, and in reality, he kept the beacon on he was able to hide the beacon on the general. And so when the general gets back up to the space station and hits the button, the missile fires out and then just does a U-turn.
Yes. Yeah.
Ooh. So what if it's the exact same strategy that the general used during a first meeting when he planted the bomb?
Yes, that's plants and payoffs.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, so we have to. Okay, so going back to that, that's perfect. It's almost the exact same kind of scenario. It could be something where the two of them, it's repeating. So it could be a scenario where the hermit and the general are sitting down for whatever reason, and it very much looks like obviously the general is kind of towering over the hermit. The hermit kind of looks begrudgingly angry and everything else. But this time, when the general kind of leans in to kind of talk trash to the turtle, he could kind of slip the bomb into his pocket or something like that, or some kind of way.
Well, one idea I had when Ari mentioned that, I think it would be interesting if in the first meeting they're sitting down to hermit tea or whatever, and the general places something there. That's the homing beacon, and he places it there within the hermit's home, but it's very very innocuous, very nobody really notices it, and enough to the point where the tyrant doesn't think that the hermit would have caught on and realized that, even after he realizes he's still alive. And then, but the hermit did. And so when he does it again in the second meeting, the hermit sees it, realizes what it is, and then is able to slip it back onto the tyrant before he leaves.
Right, that's it. That's the folly. The folly of it's the hubris. It's the hubris of the tyrant. You think he can do the same trick twice.
The arrogance and the assuming the hermit would have no idea because all these backward nature people and
right. Like, and we could even have a line when they first met where the turtle pretty much says, "This is my planet. This is my home. I know every inch of my home," kind of thing. And as the general was leaving or flying away, he could even after he pushed the button, he could look on the device and could say every inch or something like that. It's a little reminder what the turtle said. And of course, it blows up, or as the rocket fires back at him, you see the turtle smile.
Yeah.
So I think that's it. That's the idea. Is that it was planted some way. The conversation set up how this would work, where the general does leave this little thing, this seemingly innocuous thing. The turtle does in fact see it. I mean, maybe they were there in time to completely get rid of it or know what it actually is. But because he does see it, he's able to put himself in his shell to survive that attack. So then the next time when this comes around, he's 100% aware of what it actually is, and directly, plants it back onto the general. Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
And it could be something as simple as they're on the battlefield. It doesn't have to be any elaborate guest star dungeon room. It could be a simple random place in the battlefield, or even in a tree or whatnot that they are.
Yeah.
Where this encounter happens.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what it could be. It could be like a I don't know.
What if it's a memento?
Yeah.
From the war.
Yeah, I was just about to
obviously,
think. Yeah.
Ooh, maybe a photo of his son.
Yes. Something like that. I think the tyrant planted more or less something that was akin to his parents.
Yeah.
A photo or whatnot, or something simple that reminds him of his parents. And in turn, it could be the same thing for the turtle, where it's akin to his son. Like a photo, something about either a photo. It could be something as simple as the general, when he's in the guy's house, picks up a photo and plants something on the photo, saying, "Oh, nice this," or what have you. Nice image, nice picture.
If you pick up a photo, then your fingers will touch the back.
Right.
So you could plant something there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And then the next time, the turtle could pretty much do the same thing as far as planting something small, same little device on the back of the general's.
Yeah, well, I think what it is he finds what the general.
The same device.
Yeah, he sees the same device that the general planted and went, "That's that thing that blew me up," and then and then they have their meeting. But I think that's not shown to the audience until later. I think there should be the cat and mouse. I think we should see the general planting it again, so that way it's the reveal to us that, oh, that's what he did. Whatever. And then we don't see the hermit find it, and then they have their little spat, and then we discover later that the hermit did find it, planted it on him, and then kaboomy.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because the part that confused me a little was that there's two of them. There's one initially in the beginning that does get blown up with the house and everything. Then the general tries to plant another one, a second device that's the same thing, and the turtle catches that one. He replants that on. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. I think the first one. I think it should be that the hermit finds it, but by the time he finds it, the bomb is coming, and that's his warning to like, oh, you need to go down in my shelter and get in my shell.
Right.
Exactly. And then the second one is, but the general is too, the hubris is just too much.
Hubris.
Hubris.
Plural of hubris is hubris.
Hubris.
Or if it's a drafty day.
Drew Brees. It's Drew Brees. That had no further comment on him. Anyway.
It's been a rough year, 2020. It's a rough year. But yeah, I love that, because I think what it could be too, it could be such a small, subtle thing that what actually happens is, because I remember ironically enough, we were basing this off of Iroh. Iroh was a big story with his son. So it's something that's so small and simple that he always looks at this picture all the time, and he knows every last detail of it. And it's almost like the size of a gram almost on this picture. That he's like, but this seems weird. So later on, he's very perceptive to this very small, tiny thing again that no one else would have caught on to. And he's able to plant it back onto the, like you said, the general. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So yeah, he did just happen to catch it. Yeah, because he looks at that photo of his son all the time. He never forgets it. So he knows every last detail to the fullest degree. Of all the things the general could have planted on, he planted on the one thing he knows way too well.
Well, yeah, and I think that just shows like what kind of an asshole he is, because he's like, I'm going to further disrespect this man by doing this, not realizing that is going to then reveal the plot, and then later come back to blow him up in the ass.
Right.
Literally blow up in the ass. And we could have that. We could go poetic with it too, and have it that basically there's a picture maybe in the wallet or something that the general keeps of his parents, and that's where the turtle plants it, in that little picture, essentially like an eye for an eye, so to speak. I mean, this is dirty. It's war. They're not friends. So
yeah.
Okay. I like that. We got our.
Well, I think
we got it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nate.
I was just gonna say, I don't think it should be a picture. I think it should be a memento that is pointed out early on that reminds him of his parents, that he always has on him. Because I think a picture is in his scenario is a little too complicated, because then it'd be like, okay, well then we have to figure out a reason they haven't taken it out and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Where if it's just like a thing on his lapel or a necklace or something, that that the hermit can plant it on there surreptitiously.
Yes.
I like the necklace idea.
Even a necklace. A necklace. It may have been something like an honor that his dad or mom got in the war. The Tyrants, mom got in the war as being a soldier, and he kind of keeps it on them as a keepsake all the time. And he puts it back on there.
Or like a nose ring or something. We can make it work.
Why not? It is in the future. Nose ring. My God, would you deliberately take a keepsake nose ring from your dead parents? Like levels to that, my friend.
No. What you do is you take something that you can put onto a piece of jewelry and then just put it into a nose ring. That's what you do.
That's even worse. Yeah, we're getting worse somehow. Okay. So the battle. If I'm getting this correctly, the battlefronts are on the ground level. Like some put in the notes as I'm saying this. So on the ground level we have the animals versus the foot soldiers. Then the next wave up, we have essentially plants versus either better soldiers or kind of like tanks and ground machinery, so to speak. The next level up, we have Gaea and controlling the elements versus flying ships and star destroyers, things of that nature. And then the fourth wave or fourth battle is between our two generals. And it's mainly, it's not a fist fight. It's obviously a game of wits and mind, and it's pretty much the turtle's kind of on his back most of the fight, as the general's is kind of gloating over him, like a syndrome, just monologuing.
Well, I find it interesting how the most important fight is probably the least violent and the least and the smallest.
It's exactly.
I mean, isn't that how it do be sometimes?
Oh yeah.
Exactly, or it should be. Yeah. Yes. But I think too. What's also fun about this is we can. So obviously, we wouldn't bore the audience. You can still cut back and forth between battles, so we can have it. You can see the big, huge, grand scale fights, the smaller ones between the animals and soldiers. You can also cut back to seeing the conversation being held between our generals,
Mm-hmm.
because they discuss other types of things too, as far as nature versus um, science or what have you, or the idea of how could you become a tyrant? How could you abandon your parents' ideals? How could you abandon your son's ideal? All that kind of stuff. It could be a lot of different things that they're talking about, airing out the grievances more.
Mm-hmm. I also like the idea of there potentially being in the early stages of the hermit general thing, the general being the douche nozzle that he is probably coming to this with a lot of backup. And I envision a scene of like, like you think like, okay, the hermit's about to just be slaughtered by this tyrant and all of his men, and then a fissure opens up in the earth and just like takes out everybody, but the general is able to save himself. And then it's kind of like Gaea going, that's all I got for you. You got to handle him.
Yeah.
Immediately attention to some other thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe she knows that like the hermit will take care of this guy himself.
Right. And it could be that she also helps, because the general may not want to be by himself, may have a whole armored battalion with him, and she's able to kind of cause an avalanche or use the fissure to open the earth to separate so there's just the two of them, the general versus general, and not have the armies involved.
Yeah, I mean, because like she could be like, yeah, I could just kill him, but then you die too. So
yeah,
it's too specific. I can't aim for just one being. It doesn't work that way.
Well, that's the thing. I think with the reason why Gaea can't, or this Gaea character can't necessarily help on this level is like what you said. She's using a sledgehammer when you need a scalpel, and she knows that. So she's basically like, okay, that's all I can do. I've got to focus on these spaceships that are trying to blow my blow up my tropical islands. So you handle him. I helped you as best I could. Peace.
Right. And it could also have a fun. It'd be fun too if like pretty much it seems like everything's going to pot, and Gaia's like, I don't know how to beat this guy. I can't kill him directly, and they turn him as like pretty much like just get me alone with him. If you can get me alone with him, I got an idea, something like that.
Yeah.
And she kind of trusts him enough to do that.
Yeah, I like that.
All right. Okay. And then we end it with, like we said before, Nate and Ari, with the whole idea of the small little bug that destroys, that the turtle hermit's able to plant on Tyrants.
Sorry, like my brain was immediately like, small little bug, like what, like a ladybug, like
yeah.
It didn't come out of nature. I was thinking, but also I was the whole time I was able to not call him the name that came to my mind for the tyrant the entire time after our conversation before we started recording was Bateman.
I think that could work.
Yeah, I would.
So Iro versus Bateman.
Yeah.
Okay. Or Morla. Call it Morla, actually.
Morla. Go away.
Trey. Morla. Actually, this one first. Gaea separates.
Excuse me.
I was like, wasn't me for once. Yeah, I think that wraps this one up quite nicely, actually.
Yeah.
And I will read it.
Mm-hmm.
While I'm finishing this last little note, do you guys have a name or title in mind?
Oh, geez, you did this to us last week, and we both were like,
I can't do it. I can't. I'm gonna have to make like a list of possible title names.
Just random words association.
Regardless of what the actual story is about.
Yes. Just wild non sequiturs. Green door opens. What are you talking about? Yeah. All right. Let's see here. All right. Okay. So I will go ahead and read this off, and while I'm reading this, as guaranteed, Ari and Nate will have an amazing name in mind. Whatever it is, whatever they come up with in their supers, we will use. Let's see here. Okay. So, real quick to recount everything, the genre we did was an adventure. The setting was space. The time was future. Archetype number 1 was hermit. Archetype number 2 was tyrant. And archetype number 3 was orphan. We opened with a big intergalactic battle. Several races suffer major losses. A young boy watches his parents die in the war. And a turtle general watches his son die in the war. We cut to several years in the future, and our orphan earthling is now a high-ranking general in the military, and the turtle is now miserable and living alone as a hermit back at his home planet. The charismatic negotiating tyrant goes to the hermit's home to seemingly broker an agreement in order to get the resources that are on the planet. The tyrant and the hermit sit down and have a very thinly veiled hostile conversation with lots of barbs thrown. During this conversation, the tyrant actually takes a picture of the turtle hermit's son, seemingly to offer his grievances, and actually plants a small bug on the frame of it. As the tyrant leaves, the two of them basically know that they are going to come to blows in some way. Once the tyrant is completely clear of the hermit's home, he uses the bug on the picture frame of the hermit's son to launch a homing missile of sorts at the house to blow it up. And it seemingly kills the turtle hermit, but the turtle hermit just at the last second was able to get into his shell and survive. The turtle hermit then decides he wants to beg the Gaea, the space Gaea, to help him fight off these military and save the planet. Gaea hates war and kind of hates the turtle hermit for being a general and refuses to help. So later on, we see that a few soldiers are digging and mining in the planet for some of the resources. The hermit and a few animals are able to barely fend them off, and these soldiers then go back to the general and the tyrant and tell him what happened, that the hermit is still alive. The hermit then wants to retaliate against this and sends another wave of soldiers. This time, the hermit and several other animals are trying to fight off the soldiers from mining more resources, and it seems like they're all about to die. When out of nowhere, Gaea uses the plant life, to actually help the hermit and saves his life, and pretty much announces that she's in the fight. And then now, in order to retaliate against this, the general calls in all kinds of battalion and air force of sorts to come in, spaceships and things to come in onto the planet and fight against the plant life. And that's when Gaea goes full bananas and starts using the planet itself as a weapon. She uses earthquakes, she uses lightning storms, uses hurricanes, everything and anything at her disposal to fight this off. And while this massive war is taking place on several battlefronts, the turtle realizes that the best way to stop this is to stop the actual general. All this is at his command. If you stop him, it stops the war. Gaea tells the turtle hermit that she can't exactly attack him personally. The turtle hermit just says, if you can get me and him alone, isolated, I can take care of the rest. She does just that. She separates the two of them from the rest of the other soldiers and people involved in the war. And once they're alone, the hubris of the tyrant takes a hold of him. He starts gloating like crazy and monologuing like Syndrome from the Incredibles. Stands over the turtle hermit, says a whole bunch of crap, and suddenly tries to plant another bug on him to get blown up the same way because he wants to get it done right the first. He wants to do what he couldn't do the first time. However, we realize in a flashback that the turtle hermit actually did just in the nick of time realize what was going on. He actually managed just to see the bug. So this time, he's anticipating the bug being planted on him again. He puts the bug onto a charm that the tyrant has that was left to him by his parents, a keepsake essentially. You keep a couple of poetic justice. It's, in a sense, you plant your bomb on my son's photo, I'll plant a bomb on your parents' keepsake. And when the general goes back to his base to leave, more or less, he pushes the button, and of course, a nuclear weapon homes back on him and blows him up. And that, my friends, is the end of our story entitled.
Fuck.
No, I got one.
Okay.
I got one. It's and Ethan, you can see it if you scroll back up to the top.
Oh, I see it, my friend. I want you to say it out loud.
Yes, because you don't know how to pronounce it, and neither do I. Anonymous Cormorant. And the reason why I selected that is because you know how Google Docs does that thing where when somebody else is on it but they're not signed in, it just says anonymous random animal. Well, Ethan today was Anonymous Cormorant, so I decided just to roll with that. And I don't even know. Apparently, it's a bird of some sort.
I love it. I don't know. I love it. It's very Terrence Malick. But I love it. Yeah. Anonymous Cormorant. I think we should have that. Should be how we come up with our names from now on. It's just complete random. I don't want any kind of thought put into it. I love it. Yes. I love it. Anonymous Cormorant. Okay. Yes. Now here is the dessert to our main meal, or 4-course meal. Ari created in her workshop. All right. See here. Oh, let me make it big. Oh. So, okay. A little behind the scenes before we started rolling today. We were talking about American Psycho and Patrick Bateman, obviously. This guy kind of looks like a Patrick Bateman mixed with Troy Baker.
For like a Patrick Bateman, Light Yagami, mix of sort of this handsome, prissy type of like yuppie looking asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Extreme metrosexual kind of, yeah.
It was amazing, like because that's one fun thing for me in particular during these streams is I get, because I'm the technical guy in the background, I essentially watch you build this the whole time, so I get to watch this whole thing, and so I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, yeah, I like where it's going. I like where it's going. It's a definitely good looking, but yet slightly punchable face, but yet there was a point at about 45 minutes in, and you did like, I think it was like 4 brush strokes. Like, I swear to God, it was 4 brush strokes. And he went from slightly annoying to uber Chad, want to punch him in the face, like unbelievably. And I was like, my God, that's amazing.
Again, better and better. I love these because there's so much personality and character in them, because he's not sneering. He doesn't look like a caricature of an evil person, but he does have that kind of just that sinister, that beautifully anime sinisterness behind him. Mm-hmm. And the other character doesn't look all that powerful or intimidating at all, but he has just enough of that like Yoda wisdom that seems very proud and tall. So It's like beautiful. Love it.
Yes, well, it's awesome. I absolutely love it. All right, well,
like that's so nice of you to say. Thank you very much. I treasure the serotonin I've received from these compliments.
I'm glad we could provide that.
Yes, it's free of charge. Free of charge. And again, we are working on getting these visuals to you guys so you can see them. We'll have them all available up on the CIP Instagram, which we are going to take very seriously very soon, as well as. I know that's not bad. We're working on getting this to you guys. We're also going to have it available on our Facebook page and our CIP website too. The actual creativity website.
Yes.
And some fun. You can see all that Ari has created. We will let you know as far as we'll have it as far as matched up with this with the actual episodes, so you can tell which ones these characters are pertaining to. And you can drool over these as much as you like. Please wear a bib. It's disgusting to have drool.
Wear a mask.
Yes. Wear a mask.
Okay. Well, team, in light of Ari being amazing and better than both Nate and I, is there anything
Stop that.
parting words?
You are equally as amazing, both of you. Thank you so much.
Yes, well, thank you guys, and I'm my parting words: wear a mask.
Yeah. Wear a fucking mask.
Yeah, exactly.
And my departing words are, of course, wear a mask as well, and be happy. Eat lots and lots of cheeseburgers. You only live life once.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much for spending your time with us. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. And real quick, I realized that we probably should be verbalizing these credits as well. So our intro music was created by the wonderful Sam Stokes, and your host today was Ethan Murphy, Ari Orner, and Nathan Beatty. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.